Do you believe that your thoughts can create wealth? Most people will dismiss the question, nod casually, or even laugh. Yet their lives already answer it. Look around. Every building, every fortune, every invention, every empire began as a thought in one person's mind. A spark of imagination carried with belief, shaped with decision, and multiplied by persistence. Wealth does not begin in your hands. It begins in your mind. Napoleon Hill once declared, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." These words are not poetry. They are law. Thoughts are seeds. Belief is soil. Action is water. And time is the harvest. But here is the tragedy: most men waste their richest decades not because they lack talent, but because they plant weeds instead of seeds. They let fear, doubt, laziness, and indecision grow where faith, vision, and discipline should flourish. You may already be doing it. You may believe you are working hard, moving forward, providing for your family, staying safe. Yet beneath the surface, there may already be silent leaks in your thoughts. Habits of doubt, choices of fear, compromises of caution. They whisper, "You have time, wait until conditions are perfect, keep your wage and stay secure." Meanwhile, the years slip past, and the harvest is lost. Wealth is not merely money. Wealth is influence, freedom, power, and the ability to shape destiny. And all of it begins with thought. Your thoughts today are your fortune tomorrow. Your doubts today are your chains tomorrow. That is why in this lesson you will discover not vague encouragements, but dangerous truths. You will see the subtle mistakes that ruin most men's lives. You will learn the antidotes that few ever practice. And if you seize them, your thoughts will no longer betray you. They will become your most powerful weapon. So listen carefully. Because the decades ahead will not forgive drifting. They will not excuse hesitation. They will not reward excuses. They will either crown you for mastering your thoughts, or they will chain you for neglecting them. The choice begins now. The first mistake that ruins men is confusing wishes with thoughts. You whisper to yourself, "I want to be rich, I hope to succeed, one day I will live in freedom." But wishes are weak. They drift like smoke. They vanish the moment pressure arrives. A wish has no form, no discipline, no binding force. A real thought burns like fire. It demands action. It commands your subconscious. It shapes your decisions and bends your destiny. Napoleon Hill revealed this difference clearly. A wish is casual. It comes when you feel inspired, when you see someone else succeed, when you dream at night. But a thought, when fused with faith, becomes a magnet. It attracts opportunities, allies, and resources. Wealth is never built on wishes. It is built on thoughts charged with belief and translated into action. Look at the man who confuses the two. He spends his years wishing for fortune. He says, "If only I had more money, I would invest. If only I had more time, I would build. If only I had more confidence, I would act." Each sentence begins with "if only," and each year ends with nothing. His wishes make him feel alive for a moment, but his reality remains unchanged. Now look at Henry Ford. He did not wish to build cars. He thought it into reality. His thought was so clear, so definite, that it consumed him. He worked in barns, tested engines, faced mockery, endured lawsuits. But his thought did not drift like smoke. It burned like a furnace, unshakable, unstoppable, until the world bent to his vision. The difference between a wish and a thought is the difference between drifting and destiny. Wishes float. Thoughts build. Wishes comfort you. Thoughts challenge you. Wishes are excuses in disguise. Thoughts are commands to your subconscious. Say this aloud: "I do not confuse wishes with thought. My thoughts are commands. My destiny obeys." Speak it until you feel the difference in your body. Speak it until you stop saying one day and begin saying today. Understand this truth: a wish costs you nothing and gives you nothing. A thought demands everything, but it gives you everything. The man who lives in wishes spends his life in regret. The man who lives in thought spends his life in creation. Do not flatter yourself that you are safe. Ask yourself now, are your plans real thoughts or are they only wishes? If they are wishes, kill them or convert them into definite thoughts fused with belief. Because only then will they grow into wealth. The second mistake is even more subtle and more deadly. It is to think without belief. You may have a vision. You may even write it down. You may declare that you want success, freedom, wealth. But if beneath your words there is doubt, then your thought is powerless. Doubt is poison. It seeps silently into the soil of your subconscious. It whispers, maybe not you, maybe not now, maybe not possible. And your subconscious, which never argues, accepts it. It broadcasts hesitation through your aura. Men feel it. Opportunity senses it. Infinite intelligence turns away from it. Thought without belief is a seed thrown on barren ground. Look at the man who lives in this trap. He plans a business, but doubts whether it will succeed. He considers an investment, but doubts whether he deserves it. He dreams of freedom, but doubts whether he is strong enough to earn it. His doubts become chains. He never says no openly. He simply never acts. His life becomes one long delay. Now look at Andrew Carnegie. He was poor, an immigrant with nothing. But his belief was absolute. He believed that steel would build the future. He believed he could master the industry. He believed his rise was inevitable. That belief turned every thought into magnetism. It attracted allies like Charles Schwab. It attracted investors. It attracted destiny. His fortune was not born in factories. It was born in belief. You must understand this truth: the world does not yield to your half-belief. It yields only to your absolute faith. A man who doubts is divided. A man who believes is whole. Doubt scatters your energy. Belief concentrates it. Doubt makes you hesitate. Belief makes you act. Say this aloud: I believe with unshakable faith. My thoughts carry power because I trust them completely. Repeat until your subconscious accepts it as law. Speak it when fear rises. Speak it when critics mock you. Speak it when the path is dark. Because belief transforms weak thought into irresistible force. Remember this: thought is the blueprint. Belief is the fuel. Without belief, your thought is a dead plan on paper. With belief, your thought becomes a living magnet that bends reality. The difference is not education. The difference is not talent. The difference is whether you truly believe. Do not let doubt rob your fortune. Guard your faith fiercely. Because once belief fuses with thought, wealth becomes not a question, but a law. The third mistake is to live without definite purpose. You rise early, you labor long, you keep busy, yet when asked your supreme aim you hesitate. You say, I want more money, I want to be successful, I want to be secure. But these are not definite aims. They are shadows. They have no sharp edge, no commanding force. A man without a definite chief aim drifts, and drift is the silent destroyer of destiny. Napoleon Hill called definiteness of purpose the starting point of all achievement. Without it, your energy scatters into countless small tasks. You feel exhausted, but you advance nowhere. You confuse motion with progress, labor with destiny, busyness with fortune. But with it, every act, every decision, every hour bends toward one direction. Energy concentrates. Confidence multiplies. The world recognizes focus and yields to it. Look at the man without definite purpose. He takes jobs, but never builds a career. He starts projects, but never finishes. He reads books, attends seminars, makes plans, but never sets one supreme goal. His life becomes a wheel spinning furiously yet fixed to the same post. By 50, his energy is gone and he wonders why he has no crown, no fortune, no legacy. Now look at Abraham Lincoln. He suffered defeats again and again. He lost elections, lost popularity, lost ease. Yet every act was bent toward one definite purpose: to preserve the Union and free it from slavery. That definiteness gave meaning to his failures. Each defeat was not wasted. It was training. And when the hour of destiny arrived, his aura carried such authority that a nation trusted him. The difference between drift and destiny is one decision. The drifter asks, "What comes next?" The man of purpose says, "This is my aim," and bends the world toward it. Say this aloud: I live with definite purpose. Every act bends toward my chief aim. Repeat until you feel your thoughts align, your scattered energy gather, your subconscious fix itself on one direction. Understand this: the subconscious mind does not respond to vague wishes. It responds to definite commands. Infinite intelligence does not align with wandering. It aligns with focus. Men do not trust the uncertain. They trust the definite. Do not waste another year in drift. Write your purpose. Declare it. Bend every action toward it. For without definite purpose, decades are wasted. With definite purpose, even defeats become fuel for greatness. The fourth mistake that ruins men is lack of discipline. You know what must be done. You know the habits that create wealth. You even write them down, promise yourself to follow them. Yet when the hour comes, you delay. You excuse yourself. You say, "Tomorrow I will begin." Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And soon your decades are gone. Discipline is the bridge between thought and reality. Without it, even the clearest vision remains fantasy. Without it, even the strongest belief evaporates. Without it, even the greatest plan becomes a pile of paper. Discipline is the law that binds thought into action. Look at the man who lacks discipline. He starts routines, then breaks them. He sets goals, then forgets them. He studies but never applies. He works when he feels inspired, but stops when it is difficult. His subconscious learns that his words mean nothing. His aura weakens. Men do not trust him. Opportunity avoids him. He spends his life knowing but never becoming. Now look at Thomas Edison. He was not crowned for sudden genius. He was crowned for discipline. 10,000 experiments, endless nights, repeated failures. Yet his discipline chained his thought to action until the light bulb burned. His vision was not stronger than others. His discipline was stronger. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is freedom. It frees you from the chaos of impulse. It frees you from the slavery of mood. It frees you from the prison of delay. A man without discipline is a slave to his weaknesses. A man with discipline commands himself, and he who commands himself can command fortune. Say this aloud: my discipline protects my destiny. My habits obey my purpose. My thoughts become action. Speak it until hesitation dissolves. Repeat it until your subconscious accepts discipline as natural as breathing. Mark this truth: discipline compounds. Each day you keep a promise to yourself, your power multiplies. Each time you break a promise, your power decays. A wrong decision can be corrected, but no decision enslaves. Discipline ensures you always move, always build, always climb. Do not flatter yourself that you can succeed without it. Talent cannot replace discipline. Inspiration cannot replace discipline. Education cannot replace discipline. Only discipline transforms your thought into wealth. Without it, you remain a dreamer. With it, you become unstoppable. The fifth mistake that steals fortune is weak imagination. You copy what others do. You repeat yesterday's patterns. You wait for proof before you act. You demand certainty before you create. But imagination is the workshop of the mind. Without it, you cannot see beyond your present. Without it, you cannot build what does not yet exist. Without it, you are trapped in imitation, while bold men shape the future. Napoleon Hill taught that imagination is the starting point of all great enterprises. The riches of tomorrow are born in the pictures you hold in your mind today. Every invention, every empire, every revolution began first as a vision. Edison saw light before it burned. Ford saw roads filled with cars while the world still clung to horses. Washington saw schools and freedom where others saw chains and oppression. Their fortunes were born not in their hands but in their imaginations. Look at the man who lacks imagination. He works faithfully, but never envisions more. He follows orders, but never creates plans. He fears ridicule, so he copies others. He demands guarantees, so he waits for conditions to be perfect. His life remains small, not because he lacks strength, but because he lacks vision. The world never crowns imitators. It crowns creators. Now look again at Henry Ford. Scholars mocked him, financiers refused him, experts laughed at him. But his imagination was vivid. He saw the motor car not as a luxury for the rich but as a tool for the multitude. His vision pulled investors, attracted workers, and compelled the world to yield. His imagination commanded reality. You must understand, imagination is not fantasy. Fantasy drifts and entertains. Imagination directs and builds. Fantasy comforts you. Imagination challenges you. Fantasy is escape. Imagination is creation. Say this aloud: my imagination builds my future. I see wealth before it appears. I see freedom before it arrives. I see destiny before it crowns me. Repeat until your subconscious believes the pictures you project more than the circumstances you see. Mark this truth: the subconscious responds to vivid pictures. Infinite intelligence supplies plans to those who demand them with imagination. Men trust the aura of vision. But when your imagination is weak, your aura is dim. No one follows the man who sees nothing. Everyone follows the man who sees clearly. Do not bury your decades in imitation. Use your imagination boldly. Build visions larger than your current life. Hold them until they pull resources, allies, and opportunities into your path. Because wealth begins in imagination, and only those who dare to see beyond today will own tomorrow. The sixth mistake that ruins men is quitting too soon. You begin with fire. You set a goal. You take a few steps. You even endure the first failures. But then the pressure rises, the critics laugh, the resources thin, and you surrender. You walk away just when victory is near. Napoleon Hill told the story of R.U. Darby. He and his uncle chased the gold dream. They bought land, found a vein, and invested in machines. But after a few carts of shining ore, the vein disappeared. They drilled desperately, then surrendered. They sold their equipment to a junkman. That junkman brought in an engineer who studied the ground and discovered the vein lay only 3 feet deeper. Darby had quit 3 feet from gold. This is the tragedy of men who quit too soon. They dig, but they do not endure. They act, but they do not persist. They let temporary defeat convince them it was not meant to be. They surrender their dream at the very moment persistence would have crowned it. But Darby learned. He vowed never again to surrender at the first obstacle. He carried that lesson into life insurance. Each time a prospect said no, he remembered the gold. He persisted until the prospect said yes. In time, he built a fortune greater than the gold he had lost. Now look at Lincoln. He lost election after election. He lost money. He lost love. He lost health. Yet he refused to quit. Each defeat deepened his endurance. His aura grew steadier with every blow. Men trusted his persistence. And when the crisis came, his persistence crowned him. The difference between mediocrity and greatness is not talent. It is not luck. It is persistence. Men who quit too soon bury their fortune in the ground. Men who persist until the end compel destiny to yield. Say this aloud: I persist until victory is won. Delay cannot break me. Defeat cannot define me. Repeat until your subconscious accepts persistence as instinct. Speak it when fatigue presses. Speak it when rejection mocks. Speak it when failure strikes. Understand this: defeat is not final. Defeat is a test. It asks, how badly do you want it? It asks, will you rise again? If you surrender, defeat becomes permanent. If you persist, defeat becomes the seat of victory. Do not let your decades be marked by half-finished plans, abandoned dreams, and wasted labor. Persist. Because fortune crowns not the swift but the steady, not the talented but the tireless, not the clever but the enduring. The seventh mistake that silently steals fortune is isolation. You convince yourself that you can fight alone, build alone, endure alone. You tell yourself that independence is strength, that secrecy is safety, that trust is weakness. But alone you are only a candle flickering in the wind. Alone, your light trembles. Alone, your reach is small. Alone, your power is weak. Napoleon Hill called the antidote to isolation the mastermind principle. When two or more minds unite in harmony with definite purpose, a new force is born, greater than the sum of its parts. That force multiplies strength, expands vision, sharpens discipline, and amplifies confidence. It is not theory. It is law. Every great fortune has behind it not a solitary hero, but an alliance of determined minds. Look at Andrew Carnegie. He confessed openly that his fortune did not spring from his hands alone. It came from his alliance with men of vision, engineers, organizers, financiers, men whose faith and persistence magnified his own. Together, their harmony created an aura so commanding that capital flowed, rivals yielded, and an empire of steel was built. Without his mastermind, Carnegie would have remained another ambitious immigrant. With it, he became one of the richest men of his age. Look also at Henry Ford. His stubbornness was famous, but even he drew strength from alliance. His friendship with Thomas Edison encouraged him when the world mocked his dream. Their combined vision amplified each man's belief. Ford did not invent alone. He united with allies who shared his purpose. That is why his car filled the world while thousands of mechanics laboring alone vanished into obscurity. Now compare this with the man who isolates himself. He labors faithfully, but his reach is small. He keeps his plans secret, fearing betrayal. He mistrusts others, remembering old disappointments. He insists that no one can understand his vision, so he carries the burden alone. Slowly his energy burns out. His confidence fades. His opportunities pass to others who form alliances. By 40, his candle is trembling. By 50, it is nearly gone. Isolation feels safe, but it is a trap. It whispers, do not risk trust, you will be disappointed. Do not seek allies, they will slow you down. Do not share your vision, others will steal it. And so the man hides, protects, withholds, and remains weak. The storm that one man cannot withstand, a team can conquer easily. Say this aloud: I unite in harmony with chosen allies. Together, our radiance bends events. Repeat it until your pride yields and your fear dissolves. Speak it until you feel the truth, that your strength multiplies when joined with others who share your definite aim. Understand this: you do not need many. You need the right few. One true ally is worth more than a crowd of drifters. A single discordant voice can poison harmony, but two men aligned in faith can shake the world. Guard harmony fiercely. Build alliances carefully. And once built, nurture them as faithfully as you nurture your own vision. History proves this law. Lincoln's cabinet was filled with strong wills and sharp differences, but united under his definite purpose they magnified his aura. Washington surrounded himself with minds that balanced his vision. Edison's laboratory thrived not because he was alone, but because he attracted men who believed in his fire. The man who insists on walking alone may glow bravely for a season. But when the winds rise, his light flickers out. The man who builds alliances blazes like a bonfire that no storm can extinguish. Do not let pride blind you. Do not let fear deceive you. Do not let busyness enslave you. If you labor alone, you will fade alone. If you unite in harmony, you will multiply your fortune beyond your individual limit. These decades are decisive. If by 40 you have not built alliances, you are already behind. Each year of isolation tightens the chain. But it is never too late to begin. Share your definite purpose with one ally you trust. Meet often. Exchange ideas. Encourage one another. Hold each other accountable. This habit may multiply your fortune more than any solitary effort. Mark this truth: isolation diminishes aura. Harmony amplifies it. Alone you are limited. United you are multiplied. Alone you are vulnerable. United you are invincible. Say it again: I unite in harmony with chosen allies. Together, our radiance bends events. Engrave it in your soul. Live it daily. Build your mastermind, and your decades will not be wasted in flickering light, but crowned in blazing radiance. The 8th mistake is busyness without progress. You rise early. You hurry through the day. You move from task to task, from errand to errand, from duty to duty. You collapse at night exhausted, believing you have worked hard, believing fatigue is proof of progress. But when asked what you have built, you point only to wages spent, chores repeated, tasks done. Your aura radiates strain but not direction. This is the tyranny of busyness. It is the habit of mistaking constant motion for advancement, of confusing effort with achievement, of equating labor with destiny. It is a prison without walls, a wheel that spins furiously yet remains fixed to the same post. Men call it diligence. They call it responsibility. But it is drift disguised as work. Napoleon Hill warned that most men lose their decades in this trap. They pour their strength, their ambition, their creativity into endless activity that leads nowhere. They are slaves to schedules, demands, and distractions. They boast of being busy, yet remain poor in fortune and weak in influence. Look at the man who lives in this prison. He fills his day with endless duties. He answers every call, attends every meeting, satisfies every demand. He ends each day weary, yet no closer to his definite aim. His life is a wheel, turning without direction. His aura is foggy. Men sense his uncertainty. Opportunities flee from him, because opportunity does not trust the distracted. Now look at Abraham Lincoln. He lost election after election. He faced defeat after defeat. Yet his acts were not random motion. Each speech, each campaign, each effort bent toward his definite aim to preserve the Union and end slavery. His defeats were not wasted, because they prepared him for the hour of destiny. His aura grew brighter with every attempt, until his purpose compelled a nation to follow. The difference is clear. The drifter measures his life by hours worked. The man of purpose measures his life by advancement toward his aim. The drifter fills his time. The man of purpose directs his time. The drifter wastes decades in motion. The man of purpose invests decades in destiny. Say this aloud: I measure by advancement, not hours. Every act bends me closer to my definite aim. Speak it until your subconscious rejects the narcotic of busyness. Repeat it until you no longer boast of how tired you are, but of how far you have advanced. Understand this: fatigue alone does not build fortune. Direction builds fortune. 10 hours of scattered effort are poorer than 1 hour of decisive action. The world does not reward the man who works hardest. It rewards the man who works with definiteness. Consider the merchant who fills his store with endless stock, who answers every demand, who shuffles papers late into the night, yet never asks, "What is my definite aim?" He wakes each year poorer in strength and no richer in fortune. His busy years bury his destiny. Now contrast him with Henry Ford. He was not busier than other mechanics of his age. But he was definite. Every hour he poured into the motor car was directed toward his vision of serving the multitude. His aura did not scatter with endless errands. It gathered force in a single aim. That definiteness compelled investors, workers, and the world itself to bend to his vision. Mark this truth: busyness is beloved by drifters. They say, "I am too busy to plan. I am too busy to think. I am too busy to define my aim." This is the confession of a slave to motion. Busyness is a narcotic. It feels like progress. It looks like diligence. But it is only drift. The cure is simple: stop, define, plan. Write your definite chief aim. Reduce every act to its relation to that aim. If it advances you, do it with persistence. If it does not, cast it aside. This is mastery. Your subconscious responds to definiteness. Infinite intelligence aligns with definiteness. Men trust the aura of definiteness. But when you scatter your force upon countless errands without plan, your aura is weak. Men sense your uncertainty and withdraw. Do not waste your decades in the tyranny of busyness. Do not spend your strength proving you are busy. Prove instead that you are advancing. Guard your hours fiercely. Direct your energy boldly. Bend every act toward your definite aim. Say it again: I measure by advancement, not hours. Every act bends me closer to my definite aim. Engrave it in your soul. Repeat it until busyness loses its grip and progress becomes your only measure. These are the decades when men are tested. The world does not care how busy you are. It cares only whether you advance. Be remembered not as busy, but as decisive. Not as weary, but as purposeful. Not as scattered, but as focused. Mark this law: hours are not wealth. Direction is wealth. Do not be the man who wakes at 50 and realizes decades of busyness have left him no closer to his aim. Be the man who at 50 carries crowns, not chains. The ninth mistake that consumes men is uncontrolled emotion. Inside every man burns a fire. It blazes in his 30s with strength. It surges in his 40s with force. That fire may build empires, or it may leave only ashes. The fire is emotion, passion, ambition, desire, anger, love, imagination. It is the raw fuel of achievement. But most men allow this fire to master them instead of serving them. They squander it in quarrels, indulgence, envy, or pleasure without aim. They mistake the feeling of flame for the reality of progress. They feel alive, but they are burning down their own house. Napoleon Hill called this the law of transmutation, the ability to channel raw emotion into constructive creation. To suppress passion is to kill vitality. To let passion rule is to invite destruction. But to transmute passion is to wield the most powerful force in existence. Look at the man who disobeys this law. His anger spills into arguments. His ambition twists into envy. His frustration wastes itself in complaint. His desire leads him into indulgence. His emotions are wild flames, burning brightly but aimlessly, leaving only smoke and ruin. He feels alive in taverns, he laughs loudly in crowds, but his aura is dim, chaotic, untrustworthy. Men do not entrust him with responsibility. Opportunity flees from him. By 50, his fire is consumed and only ashes remain. Now look at Thomas Edison. His passion was relentless, yet he did not squander it in distraction. He transmuted it into invention. Sleepless nights, endless trials, burning frustrations, all poured into the phonograph, the lamp, the 1,000 creations that carried his name into history. His fire did not consume him. It consumed obstacles. His aura blazed with purpose so strongly that financiers trusted him, workers followed him, and history remembered him. Look also at Abraham Lincoln. His life was filled with grief. He lost elections, money, health, and love. His fire could have burned him into bitterness. Instead, he transmuted sorrow into endurance, compassion, and resolve. His aura became steady and luminous, so that even a weary nation trusted him in its darkest hour. His fire did not destroy him. It deepened him. Consider Booker T. Washington. Born in bondage, surrounded by limitation, tempted by resentment. His fire could have burned in hatred. Instead, he transmuted it into education, leadership, and vision. His aura carried such strength that men who might have opposed him were compelled to support him. His fire lit a path for others. You must understand, mastery is not suppression. The man without fire is already dead wood. Mastery is direction. It is taking the flame of love and transmuting it into devotion that builds family and inspires achievement. It is taking the flame of ambition and transmuting it into long nights of work that build enterprise. It is taking the flame of anger and transmuting it into resolve that corrects injustice. It is taking the flame of frustration and transmuting it into persistence that conquers obstacles. Say this aloud: I turn fire into force. My emotions serve my purpose, not my weakness. Repeat until you feel your fire bow to your decision. Speak it when passion tempts you, when anger rises, when frustration burns. Speak it until your subconscious accepts discipline as law. Mark this truth: emotions are fuel, but you are the engine. If you do not direct them, they will scatter you. If you command them, they will multiply you. Men trust the man whose emotions blaze with discipline. Men avoid the man whose emotions flicker chaotically. Infinite intelligence responds more to disciplined passion than to cold reasoning alone. Do not waste your decades in indulgence. Do not let your fire consume you in ashes. Each time passion rises, ask, how may this be transmuted into power for my purpose? If love, let it build devotion. If ambition, let it build enterprise. If anger, let it build resolve. If frustration, let it build persistence. In this way, every emotion becomes a servant instead of a master. By 50, the man who directs fire is full of power. By 50, the man who wastes fire is empty. The choice is not in talent, not in opportunity, but in discipline. The same flame that destroys a forest can light a city. The same passion that ruins a man can crown him. Say it again: I turn fire into force. My emotions serve my purpose, not my weakness. Engrave it in your heart. Because if you master fire, it will blaze for you. If you neglect it, it will consume you. The 10th mistake is indecision. It wears a mask. It does not call itself fear. It calls itself prudence. It whispers, wait a little longer, gather more proof, secure more advice. It flatters you with the illusion of wisdom while it silently steals your years. This mask of prudence ruins more men than open defeat, because it convinces them that hesitation is maturity, when in truth it is only timidity. Napoleon Hill warned that fear always disguises itself. The fear of poverty whispers, do not risk, you might lose. The fear of criticism warns, what will they think if you fail? The fear of failure hisses, better to wait than to stumble. These voices never shout. They speak softly, but they paralyze completely. Look at the man who obeys them. He desires to start a business, but prudence whispers, keep the wage you have. He wishes to speak boldly, but prudence warns, they will laugh. He plans to expand, but prudence hisses, wait until it is certain. So he waits and waits and waits until the years best suited for boldness are gone. His caution becomes his prison, and his prudence his chain. By 50, the chain is locked. By 60, it is unbreakable. Now look at Henry Ford. When he declared he would build a motor car for the multitude, financiers scoffed. Scholars denounced him. Experts declared it impossible. If he had worn the mask of prudence, he would have delayed, collected more proofs, waited until conditions were safe. He would have died forgotten. But he acted. He built. He persisted. His decisiveness compelled men to believe, and his fortune crowned him. Understand this truth: safety is never perfect. Certainty never arrives. The man who waits for perfect proof will wait until his grave. A wrong step can be corrected. No step cannot. A wrong decision may teach. No decision enslaves. Say this aloud: I do not confuse fear with wisdom. My decisions are law. Fortune obeys. Repeat until hesitation breaks. Speak it until your subconscious accepts decisiveness as your natural state. Declare it until men feel your authority the moment you walk into a room. Mark this law: the man who decides grows stronger. The man who delays grows weaker. Decision builds momentum. Momentum conquers resistance. Men trust the decisive, even when he risks error. Men withdraw from the indecisive, even when he is cautious. The world bends more to bold decision than to timid prudence. Do not deceive yourself. You cannot hide hesitation. A room feels it before you speak. When you delay, when you excuse, when you postpone, your aura dims. Men sense it. They withdraw their trust. But when you decide, even amid uncertainty, your aura brightens. Men feel it and offer their aid. Infinite intelligence responds more swiftly to decisive faith than to timid caution. History does not crown the cautious. It crowns the decisive. Every fortune, every empire, every destiny was built by men who chose and moved. Do not flatter yourself that your delay is prudence. Tear off the mask. Call fear by its true name. Act upon your definite desire now. Risk not recklessly but faithfully. For the greatest risk is not action but inaction. Say it again, I do not confuse fear with wisdom. My decisions are law. Fortune obeys. Engrave it in your mind. Speak it until hesitation feels unnatural. Because each year surrendered to prudence is a treasure buried beyond recovery. The 11th mistake that chains men forever is serving only for wages. You rise early. You labor long. You take pride in diligence. Each week your pay arrives, and you feel secure. Yet if all your labor is given only for the pay you earn, you have sold your soul cheaply. Your decades of power are not for survival alone. They are the years when habits harden, when destiny is shaped. If you labor only for wages, you remain a servant forever. Napoleon Hill taught a simple law: the world pays in proportion to service rendered, always more in the long run to the man who gives more than he is paid for. The man who calculates narrowly, who asks, "Why should I give more than I receive?" radiates distrust. His aura whispers, "I am a man of limits. I cannot be trusted with abundance." And the law of life answers by keeping him small. Look at the man chained by wages. He says, "I will save my strength until I am promoted. Then I will give more." But promotion never comes, for his aura betrays his selfish calculation. He says, "Why should I labor more for another's profit?" But by withholding, he withholds from himself the light of growth. He says, "I must secure my family first before I risk more." But by withholding, he ensures his family remains confined to the same circle. His decades vanish, his fortune never grows, his destiny remains buried. Now look at Charles M. Schwab. He began not as a president but as a worker. He did not calculate narrowly. He poured thought, eagerness, and energy into tasks beyond his station. He looked for opportunities to give more service, to solve greater problems, to carry heavier burdens. Andrew Carnegie felt this radiance. He saw a man who gave more than he was paid for. That aura lifted Schwab from the mill floor to the presidency of a steel empire. Understand this truth: every man has two masters. The one who pays his wage, and the law of increase. The first may fail, but the second never does. The employer who withholds recognition cannot rob the man of excess service. For the law will bring another master who will reward him. But the man who withholds effort cheats not his master but himself, dimming his aura until no one trusts him with advancement. Say this aloud: I prove my worth before I am paid. I sow more than I reap. My harvest multiplies. Repeat it until it becomes your nature. Speak it until it shapes your conduct tomorrow. Do not wait for larger pay before you give larger service. Give larger service now, and larger pay must follow. If not from one hand, then from another. Look again at Henry Ford. Before the world crowned him, he labored tirelessly upon engines that paid him nothing. He poured nights, sweat, and imagination into experiments without wage. Yet those excess hours built his aura, attracted capital, and compelled the world to reward him. His service beyond wages became the foundation of his empire. Contrast him with the drifter who demands more pay before more effort. His aura is dim. His trust is poor. His opportunities vanish. He may labor for 40 years and remain in the same station, always complaining he was never given a chance. But the truth is he never proved himself worthy of advancement. His chains are his own making. Mark this law: the man of purpose does not ask, "What am I paid?" He asks, "What am I becoming by this service?" He sees each extra act, each extra thought, as a seed that multiplies in his character and radiance. He knows the law cannot be cheated. What is sown must be reaped, and reaped in greater measure. His aura brightens. Men feel his reliability. Opportunity follows him as naturally as water flows downhill. This principle governs not only factories and offices but every realm of life. The husband who gives only what he thinks is required finds his home grows cold. The friend who calculates every favor soon finds himself alone. The citizen who contributes only what is demanded pays in the coin of mediocrity. But the man who gives more than is asked at home, in friendship, in community builds an aura of abundance that draws loyalty, opportunity, and trust. Say again, I prove my worth before I am paid. I sow more than I reap. My harvest multiplies. Engrave it into your heart. For the man who masters this habit in his 30s and 40s will never want in his 50s and 60s. He will carry abundance as naturally as breath, because his aura testifies, this is a man who can be trusted with more. Do not wear the chains of wages. Break them by proving your worth before you are paid. Render more service than is asked. Give more thought than is demanded. Sow more energy than is required. Do it without resentment. For you are not serving merely a master. You are serving your destiny. The 12th mistake is neglecting the inner temple. Every man carries a temple within. Its walls are unseen, its altar is silence, its door is closed to the noise of the world. It is the chamber where thought communes with faith, where desire speaks to the subconscious, where infinite intelligence responds. This temple must be guarded more fiercely in your 30s and 40s than at any other time, for in these decades the noise of life is loudest, the demands are heaviest, and the distractions most cunning. Yet most men abandon it. They labor outwardly but never return inwardly. Their temple becomes hollow, and a hollow temple ruins even the most talented man. Look at the man who neglects this chamber. He fills his days with duties, his nights with distraction, his mind with noise. He says, I am too busy to reflect, I will pray later, I will meditate when I am older, I will build my inner life after my outer life is secure. But later never comes. By the time he seeks silence, his temple is already empty. His subconscious has been fed for decades not by faith and gratitude, but by fear, gossip, and doubt. His aura is weak. Men sense it. Opportunities avoid him. His words carry no weight because his spirit has no root. Now look at Booker T. Washington. Born in bondage, surrounded by prejudice, limited in opportunity. Yet his aura radiated faith so strong that men who might have opposed him instead supported him. What gave him such radiance? He kept his temple filled daily. He renewed his covenant with faith and gratitude. He impressed his vision on his subconscious until it became law. Infinite intelligence supplied him with allies, ideas, and endurance. His greatness was not born of circumstance but of communion. Look also at Abraham Lincoln. In the darkest hours of war, when defeat loomed and allies abandoned him, he often retreated into silence. There he sought guidance not from newspapers, not from politicians, but from the unseen intelligence that governs all. His calm authority was not natural, it was cultivated in the temple of silence. Understand this, the subconscious is always listening. If you do not feed it deliberately with gratitude and definite purpose, it will feed upon fear, criticism, and doubt. You cannot deceive it by ignoring it. It is always open. You must command it daily. Affirmations are not empty words, they are the commands by which you shape your subconscious. Say this aloud, I enter my inner court. I decree my aim. Infinite intelligence aligns the world to it. Repeat it morning and night. Speak it before you sleep, when your subconscious is most open. Speak it when you wake, when your mind is fresh. Fill your temple with faith before the world fills it with fear. Mark this law, the filled temple produces men whose presence commands trust. They may speak little, but when they do, their words strike like steel. Their aura radiates certainty because it flows not from their own strength but from the infinite current of intelligence. The hollow temple produces men who speak loudly but are ignored, who labor endlessly but are forgotten. Do not wait until old age to enter the inner court. In youth, mistakes can be forgiven. In old age, regrets are excused. But in your prime decades, excuses are not tolerated. The world measures you now. If your temple is empty, your aura will be dim. If your temple is filled, your aura will blaze. Say it again, I enter my inner court. I decree my aim. Infinite intelligence aligns the world to it. Engrave it on your heart. Speak it until silence becomes your strength. Protect your temple fiercely. Do not let gossip pollute it, do not let fear corrupt it, do not let doubt darken it. Guard it as your crown, for from it flows the power that bends destiny. By 50, the man who has filled his temple carries calm authority that men trust. By 50, the man who has neglected his temple is hollow, no matter how wealthy he may appear. Riches without inner covenant are fragile. Radiance born of communion endures. Your decades will either be wasted in noise or multiplied in silence. The choice is yours. The 13th mistake that weakens men is the refusal to repeat. You hear a truth once, you nod, you say, I already know this. You read a principle, you underline it, then you move on. You hear an affirmation, you whisper it once, then you forget. You think knowledge is possession, when in truth knowledge is only seed. Repetition is water. Without water, the seed withers. Without repetition, the mind never accepts, the subconscious never obeys, and the truth never becomes law. Napoleon Hill warned that the subconscious accepts only what is repeated, impressed, engraved through constant declaration and persistent action. 1 command is a suggestion. 10 commands are memory. 100 commands are belief. 1,000 commands are law. The man who refuses repetition remains a casual student, always knowing, never becoming. The man who embraces repetition becomes unstoppable, because his subconscious no longer questions, it obeys. Look at the man who neglects repetition. He reads one book after another. He attends one seminar after another. He listens to one speech after another. He nods, he agrees, he feels inspired. But the next morning he is unchanged. His subconscious has not been trained. His aura radiates inconsistency. Men do not trust him because his actions never align with his words. He becomes a collector of wisdom but not a possessor of power. Now look at the man who practices repetition. He takes one principle and drills it into his soul. He writes it daily. He speaks it morning and night. He acts upon it again and again. At first it feels forced. Then it becomes habit. Then it becomes instinct. His subconscious accepts it as reality. His aura radiates certainty. Men trust him because he is consistent. Opportunity follows him because he is reliable. Consider the athlete who repeats the same drill thousands of times until his body obeys without thought. Consider the musician who practices scales endlessly until the notes flow without effort. In the same way, the man who repeats affirmations, who repeats actions, who repeats decisions engraves them into his character. He no longer tries to be disciplined, he is discipline. He no longer tries to be persistent, he is persistence. He no longer tries to think wealth, he thinks wealth naturally. Say this aloud, repetition engraves truth into my soul. What I repeat, I become. What I declare daily, I embody fully. Speak it until you feel the words take root. Write your affirmations daily. Speak them morning and night. Act upon them until they become reflex. Mark this truth, the subconscious is a faithful servant, but it is trained only by repetition. If you do not command it daily, it will obey the repetition of the world, fear repeated in the news, doubt repeated in gossip, weakness repeated in your own excuses. If you do not fill it with your chosen repetitions, it will be filled by others. Do not flatter yourself that you can change with inspiration alone. Inspiration is a spark. Repetition is the hammer that forges steel. Inspiration excites you once. Repetition engraves you forever. The man who neglects repetition drifts back into old habits. The man who embraces repetition builds new habits that define him for decades. Say it again, repetition engraves truth into my soul. What I repeat, I become. Repeat it until it becomes reflex. Because only through repetition will your thoughts cease to be theory and become law. By 50, the man who practiced repetition carries mastery as instinct. By 50, the man who neglected it remains a beginner, no matter how many truths he once heard. The difference is not in exposure but in imprint. Not in knowledge but in repetition. Guard this law, what you repeat, you become. The 14th mistake that ruins men is passive thought without action. You dream, you visualize, you plan, you imagine. You fill journals with ideas. You speak of possibilities with excitement. You declare affirmations, but when the hour comes to act, you hesitate. You say, tomorrow I will begin. Next week I will start. When conditions are right, I will move. And so thought becomes comfort instead of command. The palace you built in your mind remains a shadow, because you never laid the first stone. Napoleon Hill warned that faith without action is dead. Thought is the seed, belief is the soil, but action is the water that brings the harvest. Without action, your thought rots in the ground. Without movement, your belief dries into dust. Without deeds, your destiny withers. Look at the man who lives in passive thought. He studies endlessly. He speaks fluently about principles. He nods when he hears truth. He fills notebooks with goals. Yet nothing changes. His subconscious grows confused because his words and his deeds do not align. His aura radiates weakness. Men sense it and turn away. He becomes a philosopher of fortune but never a possessor of it. Now look at Edison. His notebooks were filled, yes, but his hands were busier than his pen. Each thought became an experiment. Each idea became a trial. Each vision became a test in fire and failure. His faith did not stay in imagination. It lived in wires, in glass, in motion. His aura drew capital, drew labor, drew destiny. Not because he thought, but because he acted. Understand this, thinking alone is not enough. Imagination alone is not enough. Belief alone is not enough. Action is the final seal. Without it, all else is wasted. With it, even weak thought can grow into empire. Say this aloud, my thoughts move my hands. My visions command my steps. My faith is proven in action. Repeat until your subconscious rejects passivity. Declare it until delay feels like betrayal. Speak it until the line between thought and deed disappears. Mark this truth, the world crowns not the thinker alone, but the thinker who acts. The world rewards not the dreamer, but the dreamer who builds. History remembers not those who wished, but those who moved. Do not deceive yourself. Reading this is not enough. Writing affirmations is not enough. Visualizing wealth is not enough. If you do not rise and move, your decades will vanish into empty thought. Better one flawed action than 1,000 perfect plans. Better one step forward than a lifetime of rehearsals. By 50, the man who acted will carry fortune, influence, and respect. By 50, the man who only thought will carry regret. The difference is not in opportunity. The difference is not in talent. The difference is whether thought became motion. Say it again, my thoughts move my hands. My visions command my steps. My faith is proven in action. Engrave it until you can no longer imagine delaying. Because passive thought comforts, but only action crowns. The 15th mistake is failing to guard your thoughts. You let fear enter, you let doubt whisper, you let criticism echo, you let gossip shape your mind. You tell yourself, it is harmless, they are only words. But words are seeds, and every seed grows. You allow weeds to root in your subconscious, and soon your aura reflects weakness instead of strength. This is the gravest neglect, because thoughts are the foundation of wealth.
If the foundation is poisoned, the palace cannot stand.
Napoleon Hill declared that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But he also warned that whatever the mind can fear and doubt, it can destroy. Your subconscious does not filter. It accepts what is repeated. If you feed it fear, it will obey fear. If you feed it faith, it will obey faith. The choice is yours. Look at the man who fails to guard his thoughts. He listens to criticism and accepts it. He absorbs the doubts of others until they become his own. He allows gossip and complaint to pollute his temple. Soon his decisions grow timid. His confidence fades. His opportunities vanish. His aura whispers weakness, and men withdraw their trust. By 40, his faith is eroded. By 50, his destiny is chained. Now look at the man who guards his thoughts fiercely. He refuses gossip. He rejects complaint. He silences fear before it takes root. He fills his mind daily with affirmations, gratitude, and definite purpose. His subconscious becomes his faithful servant. His aura radiates certainty. Men trust him. Opportunity flows to him. Infinite intelligence supplies him with guidance, because his channel is clear. Consider again Edison. Many laughed at him, mocked his failures, predicted his ruin. If he had allowed those voices into his mind, his fire would have been smothered. But he guarded his thoughts. He filled his temple with persistence and faith. That is why, when others surrendered, he continued. His aura drew fortune because his mind was clean. Say this aloud: I guard my thoughts fiercely. I admit only faith, gratitude, and purpose. Fear and doubt cannot enter. Repeat it until your subconscious accepts vigilance as law. Speak it when criticism stings, when doubt rises, when fear whispers. Declare it until your temple is protected, your mind a fortress, your aura a beacon. Mark this truth: your thoughts are not private. They radiate through your aura. Men feel them before you speak. If you think fear, your presence weakens. If you think faith, your presence strengthens. The world rewards the man whose thoughts command, and punishes the man whose thoughts drift. Do not deceive yourself. You cannot afford casual thoughts. Each one is a seed. Each one grows. Each one either builds your destiny or buries it. Guard them with the same ferocity you would guard treasure, because they are treasure. By 50, the man who guarded his thoughts carries a crown of radiance. His presence commands respect, his fortune endures, his legacy is secure. By 50, the man who allowed doubt and fear to rule carries only regret. His decades are lost, his wealth evaporates, his destiny forgotten. Say it again: I guard my thoughts fiercely. I admit only faith, gratitude, and purpose. Engrave it in your heart. Live it daily. Because the difference between ruin and crown is not in your circumstances but in your thoughts. Guard them, and they will guard you. Neglect them, and they will betray you. You have now walked through the 15 mistakes that ruin men in their decades of power. You have seen how wishes masquerade as thought, how belief without certainty weakens, how drift without definite purpose wastes decades, how lack of discipline robs destiny, how weak imagination shrinks fortune, how surrender destroys promise, how isolation diminishes aura, how busyness buries progress, how uncontrolled emotion consumes, how indecision hides behind prudence, how serving only wages chains you, how neglecting the inner temple hollows you, how refusing repetition keeps you weak. How passive thought without action crowns you with regret, and how failing to guard your thoughts lets fear and doubt rob you blind. These mistakes are not accidents. They are habits. They do not shout. They whisper. They do not strike suddenly. They corrode silently. And each year you allow them, they compound. By 50, the chains are locked. By 60, they are unbreakable. That is the reckoning of the decades. But you have also been shown the antidotes. Decision destroys fear. Belief fuels thought. Definite purpose focuses energy. Discipline builds freedom. Imagination multiplies opportunity. Persistence breaks surrender. Alliance amplifies strength. Direction defeats busyness. Transmutation masters fire. Action crowns faith. Repetition engraves truth. Guarding thoughts protects destiny. You stand now at the crossroads. To one side is drift. It is easy. It is crowded. It is full of excuses, gossip, fear, and regret. It ends in chains. To the other side is mastery. It is narrow. It is lonely at first. It demands discipline, persistence, faith, and sacrifice. But it ends in crowns. Do not deceive yourself with later. Later does not exist. Only now exists. Your thoughts today are your fortune tomorrow. Your doubts today are your chains tomorrow. The decades ahead will not forgive hesitation. They will not excuse drift. They will not reward excuses. They will either crown you or chain you, depending on whether you master your thoughts or neglect them. Say these affirmations aloud. Say them as if engraving them into your soul. I do not confuse fear with wisdom. My decisions are law. Fortune obeys. I serve purpose, not wages. My service multiplies my harvest. I measure by advancement, not hours. Every act bends me closer to my definite aim. I turn fire into force. My emotions serve my purpose, not my weakness. I unite in harmony with chosen allies. Together our radiance bends events. I persist until victory is won. Delay cannot break me. Defeat cannot define me. I enter my inner court. I decree my aim. Infinite intelligence aligns the world to it. Repetition engraves truth into my soul. What I repeat, I become. My thoughts move my hands. My visions command my steps. My faith is proven in action. I guard my thoughts fiercely. I admit only faith, gratitude, and purpose. Repeat them morning and night until they are no longer words but living laws. Each decree is a chain broken. Each affirmation is a crown placed. Each repetition brightens your aura. Understand this: history does not remember the cautious, the timid, the drifters. It remembers the decisive, the disciplined, the persistent, the men who guarded their thoughts and acted with faith. Lincoln was obscure in his 20s, but by his 40s his aura of persistence prepared him for greatness. Carnegie was poor in youth, but by his 30s his alliances and definiteness crowned him with steel. Edison, Ford, Rockefeller all forged their empires not by accident but by mastery of thought. And consider the thousands who were just as intelligent, just as hard-working, but who wore the mask of prudence, served only wages, drifted in busyness, wasted their fire, isolated themselves, surrendered at defeat, neglected their temple, refused repetition, and failed to act. They are forgotten. Or worse, they are remembered only as warnings of wasted potential. Which will you be? This is your hour of decision. Tear off the mask of prudence and act with decision. Break the chains of wages and give more than you are paid for. Escape the tyranny of busyness and bend each act toward your definite aim. Transmute your fire into achievement. Refuse to remain a lone candle and unite with chosen allies. Reject surrender and engrave persistence into your soul. Guard your inner temple. Repeat truth until it becomes law. Protect your thoughts as your crown. Act until your visions become reality. If you do this, by 50 you will not face chains but crowns. By 60 you will not face regret but respect. By 70 you will not be hollow but full. This is the reward of mastery. Now seal this covenant. Say aloud with conviction. I master my thoughts. I create wealth. I claim my destiny. Let these words be not only sound but law. Live them, breathe them, act upon them. For the decades are short, the reckoning is near, and the cost of drifting is everything. But the reward of mastery is also everything. And that choice rests now in your hands.